We're live.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Friday, February 13th, and we're the House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee, and we're here today to chat with PUC about three of our bills: H727 data centers, H716 net metering, and H753 utility service disconnections and ratepayer protections. Probably in that order. And then at 2:30, we've updated our agenda. We're going to be hearing a proposed amendment on H898, our copper to fiber transition bill, from Representative Donahue and Ledge Council. We'll take a straw poll on. All right, so I'm Representative Kathleen James from Manchester.
Scott Campbell from St. Johnbury.
Richard Bailey, Lamoille 2.
Chris Morrow, Wyndham, Windsor, Bennington. Michael Southworth, Caledonia 2.
Christopher Howland, Rutland 4.
Laura Civilian, Wyndham 2.
Great, and in the room.
Dina Lee Perry from the Grassy Group.
Gabriella Molina with Down Dragon Martin. And Jim Public South Roston.
Super. All right, for the record, thank you for being here.
I am Greg Faber with the Vermont Public Utility Commission. We're going to start with data centers, H727.
Thank you.
Now, I'm not sure how much you want me to stay on this. You've seen the chairman's edits to the bill. Those are posted on your website.
Those are posted on our website.
I could go over them.
That would be great.
Okay. Okay, so we would recommend removing the section, this is section 284. I'm going to start there. Sorry, that's on page 2. At the bottom of page 2 there, it starts with tariffs and contracts.
Okay.
So we would suggest removing the requirement to do 17 tariffs. In lieu of those tariffs, utilities should be required to enter into special contracts with data centers pursuant to section 229. This provision allows utilities to provide service to customers outside of a tariff structure as long as the contract is approved by the commission. So instead of a tariff, they're going to enter into a special contract. We in turn would approve or reject that special contract.
Okay. Does anybody have, especially you, Rep. Sebelia, since you're the bill sponsor here, questions, comments on that?
No, I was just actually thinking we should make sure that the work that the department and our Ledge Council are doing on the next draft is sure to include these, as the department also supported this.
Yeah.
So I don't have any specific questions. I've reviewed these and.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm having trouble getting the document. It's not under today's date. It's not.
No. If you go to the bill folder.
Yeah.
And then under witnesses.
Chair McNamara, right?
Yeah, it's under Chair McNamara. Witness documents, and then Chair McNamara. It actually was posted on Wednesday, February 11th. We'll give folks just a sec to get there. Guys got it?
No, we're done. McNamara?
Yes.
Yep.
There is first. That makes sense.
What's under Ed?
It's easy to find in the bill folder.
It's a head McNamara, yeah. But it should be under Van.
It's not on ours. It's counted by first name.
It may be one.
I didn't look it up by name. I saw it under the date. It was filed.
Yeah. Alex, can you repost this under today too? Yeah, thanks.
It's not under the bill?
Huh?
It's not connected.
It is under the bill.
Oh, okay.
It's in the bill folder. It was posted Wednesday, and it just kind of slipped onto our website. So we're making sure folks.
Oh, this goes to paragraph 1.
Yep,
Yeah.
just 2 paragraphs.
Please forgive this.
Okay, so sorry, Greg. We can go on.
Okay.
Go on ahead now.
So that's section 284. Pretty straightforward. Use special contracts, not new tariffs. Okay. And then section 285, which begins on page 4. That would require basically a siting, a certificate of public good, similar to like solar facility or a telecom tower. We're saying get rid of that section. Any new structure with a 20 megawatt load is going to require transmission service that the commission will review under section 248. All right, already that's already in place, so you don't have to add anything. And then, of course, we're going to review the special contract, which is going to protect ratepayers. So all of those things are already encompassed in the previous changes to section 284. So we would recommend getting rid of section 285. So you don't need any special citing. It would go through Act 250 as a warehouse or whatever it is. They would do their thing, and then we would review the interconnection.
Okay.
And the contract with the utility, just like we would with anything else, any other large load, like ski resorts.
Yep. And I think we did talk about that with the department as well, and they walked us through that very carefully.
I have no questions on this, but I
Okay.
do have a question for the PUC on the bigger bill. It's something we heard yesterday, so I don't know if others have questions on this.
I don't have questions on the specific changes, so just curious to hear about the PUC position on the bill, I guess, or see if there are broader questions.
Well, I don't know if you had the opportunity to review any of the testimony yesterday, probably not from the department, and Velco actually.
I did not look at that.
But Velco actually testified about the ongoing federal rulemaking around the potential for direct connect into the transmission system, the 115 system.
Okay.
You don't know about this
didn't-
federal rule. That's what I actually wanted to ask you.
Sorry,
Okay,
I'm not the person to ask on that.
who would be the person to ask on that?
Well, it sounds like it's Belka.
Belka.
But
Well, but in terms of
Our
the
opinion of
PUC,
that?
yeah,
okay, I'll look at the testimony and I'll talk to folks, see
Yeah.
who the best person is.
I mean, it's less about your opinion, like on Velco's testimony or the rule, but just in terms of providing any guidance for us in terms of safeguarding Vermonters. I thought I think that there's probably a lot of opposition to this federal rule, but if it were to move forward, it seems like that would be pretty problematic in terms of protecting Vermont ratepayers. That's the point that so
Yeah,
does the
I'll talk.
PUC really recommend anything that we should do to safeguard in advance of
Okay,
that potential?
gotcha.
It would be removing from state jurisdiction.
Rate making.
Great meeting.
Yeah,
What's that?
it would be removing from state jurisdiction rate making
For data
for
centers.
for these high large loads.
Oh, okay, I'm unaware of that. I'll talk to folks though. Let's see.
Thank you. That's it from me, Madam Chair.
Okay. Do we have questions for Greg on this bill, or Greg, do you have anything more on this?
No, that's it.
We may have,
I mean, other than that, we support it.
yeah.
There is another version in the Senate, maybe you folks are aware of, on data centers.
The only bill I'm aware of on the Senate side is the moratorium.
Well, that's it. It's
Okay.
a moratorium and then a bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
As it's opening an investigation into this. So just wanted to thank you guys. I'm sure you're aware of it.
Yeah, I actually know about the bill. I'm not sure that it's moving forward. So our thought
I'm being
is,
asked to testify on it next week.
okay, interesting.
So,
Well,
A little bit moving forward.
okay. All right. Our goal here is to, get enough testimony on this so we can figure out, as a committee, like, do we need this bill? Is this bill a good idea? Should we move it along? Does it need to be revised? And so we're trying to get a handle on that.
Well, this is better than that.
Mhm.
My,
Okay.
my general impression, but
And we also talked about technical content on this.
This is the question that I had
Oh,
in terms of an investigation, which you're being asked in that bill.
in the Senate,
Or-
yeah, that's why we don't like that bill so much.
So Commissioner Johnson said that it was his intention to have a technical conference to establish really a baseline for Vermont. And do you know what to explain to us what the difference is between a technical conference and an investigation?
Right. So an investigation is formal. It's a formal investigation. You're getting testimony under oath.
Mhm.
A technical workshop,
Mhm.
those rules don't apply.
Mhm.
So you get comments in a workshop setting. People work on various proposals. It's not an evidentiary proceeding, which is much more involved, much more expensive.
Is it
So
technical conference or workshop?
more or less.
He called it a conference.
Is
I've never heard
specific
to
type
that
of it?
specific, but yeah, it sounds like a workshop to me.
Yeah.
And a workshop is very broad. That's a very broad term as well.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but again, the difference is, a formal investigation. Now the department is a party. We really can't talk to them. In a workshop, we can. Everyone talks together.
Yeah.
Um,
And so you haven't heard the terms technical conference before?
no, but it sounds like a workshop.
Yeah.
I get it. I
Okay.
get what he's saying. So,
Okay.
that would probably be a better way to address this at this point. If we start running into problems, then maybe something else, but that sounds like a good idea to me.
I guess it's a question of how urgent is Vermont's taking some, action on this.
Well, we don't know, obviously, but we haven't seen any yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have fairly high electric rates, so that's going to dissuade a lot of people from coming here as to other places. We do have some other things which are beneficial for rates, data centers, like fiber backbone. We have that. We have a lot of fiber up here. So that's something data centers like. But the electric rates are pretty high to run a data center. So yeah. So will we see any? It's possible, but we're not seeing any so far. So yeah, a technical conference sounds like a good idea.
We do have 2 data centers, but I guess do you know anything about them? They're small.
Yeah, small ones. Yeah. And again, they haven't caused any problems. We're not seeing any problems around them. So, and they can be beneficial, as you know. GMP came in and testified about that. I thought that was a good presentation. Until you get to the very large stocks, and then it becomes difficult. You run into capacity constraints and things like that. But if it's between 50 megawatt, something like that, that could be good for our system, a large load on the system.
Yeah, well, it sounds like the main benefits would be if they brought their own generation, for one, and 2, if they were flexible loads, if they could be
Right.
curtailed
Right.
when necessary. But,
Yep.
but data centers doesn't. I don't really know, but just thinking about how the internet is on all the time, it doesn't seem like a data center would be easy to curtail.
I don't. Yeah, it's possible, but we'd have to see.
Yeah. Technical conference.
Yep. Where you talk about all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you bring in all the experts, and everyone can talk. And give them cross information. That's it. It's always a good approach to the next stuff.
Should we have something in the bill that sort of says, yes, have a technical conference? Do it this summer.
That's what we're gonna go.
DPS is looking at the language, and I assume they suggested, they're gonna send back
Okay.
feedback, and I assume if they think they need statutory authority or something to have a conference, they would ask for it, but
They don't need it.
And what doesn't need to be statutory, just a session bill,
Yeah, but-
directive.
I mean, if they need anything from us, I assume they would ask. Okay, is that good for data centers?
Me, yes.
Great. Anybody else? Data centers? Going once, going twice? Boom, net metering.
Okay, well, this one, we don't support this one, as you may imagine. So this is H716. And the intent of this is to increase the net metering price that net metering customers get. Right? That sounds like what you're trying to do here. So you're reaching into an established existing PUC process, and you're targeting one variable out of many variables in an existing process, where we have goals of least cost planning and reduction in greenhouse gases. This bill seems aimed at increasing the amount of net metering in the state, which is a different goal than what we've been given. So it's a little confusing for us. It will probably result in higher net metering rates, which in turn will increase the amount of cost shift from net metering to non-net metering customers. So we don't support it because we've been told to engage in least cost planning and reduction of greenhouse gases. This won't do any of those things. So it conflicts with those goals. It sets up a new goal, which hasn't been stated in statute. So we would suggest a better way to do this is to come up with a broad policy goal to say, for example, we want to see 30% more net metering rooftop solar in the state by 2030. And then let us, with the help of all the other stakeholders like the department and everybody else and Rev and all those folks, come up with prices to do that in the least cost way. Doing it this way, this sort of piecemeal approach, we don't support that. No, it's just not a holistic approach to this. It would involve us changing our rules. There's some technical things about it too. I mean, for instance, you're saying no rate adjusters for behind the meter consumption. What if we wanted to put positive rate adjusters on that? What if we wanted to encourage battery storage, for example, through positive adjusters? Can't do that now. And this is forever. This isn't just temporary. This is us changing our rules to put this into effect so it stays this way. So we don't support this bill, but
Mr. Faber, I was going to call you Greg with that bill.
that's fine.
But then Mr. Faber sounded weird. So, if we, can you walk me through? Okay, so let's say that we concur that, pulling the net metering rate lever at the legislative level isn't the right solution for what we're trying to do. And that the goal but that what we're trying to do is incentivize or encourage or support residential rooftop solar, which is that's what I'm trying to do.
So it sounds like.
And so what? And we set that we pass a bill. Then what? Can you walk me through? So what happens? So now we have this goal, but it's not a mandate; it's a goal. What are the next? Who picks up that baton, and what does the work look like from there?
You would require us to do that, just like you do for res or for anything else. You could say an increase of 30% by 2030, something like that. I mean, obviously, you'd have to talk to Ledge Council on this, but you would establish that goal for the state to get there by 2030, and then we would act accordingly.
I guess I'm more trying to envision the details of the act accordingly. So would you guys engage in rulemaking, or do you
We have to
get all the stakeholders together to what?
all they would all be included in the rulemaking. So I'm envisioning sort of a res process, where we develop the renewable energy standards. This would be added to that. Be something like that. Obviously, it's going to take some thought.
Yeah.
Put into it and some wordsmithing, but as a general goal, that's probably the better way to go than just sort of piecemealing it.
And coming up with that right number.
And then if you wanted to have more emphasis on rooftop solar than the other solar, you know, as opposed to ground mounted solar, that's something you could add to that. Because that is definitely, those are different things. We treat them differently.
Mhm.
They have very little permitting requirements for rooftop, whereas there's a lot for the ground mounts.
Right.
Depending on the size. So it depends what your goals are. If it's just rooftop, is it all net metering? You have to figure that out too. Do you want large, you know, large solar arrays in fields? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Those are all things you'd have to consider. So it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. This is easy. See, 0.4. Okay, can't do that. I'm not sure it'll work the way you want it to, though.
Questions, thoughts, comments?
Yeah, so I guess if listening to testimony this morning about this and yesterday is leading me to wonder if we really need to revisit the whole net metering, the sort of physical side of net metering, about what we're trying to encourage. So with batteries, which weren't a factor when net metering started,
No.
with batteries, maybe we ought to be thinking about ways to encourage batteries in residences as a way of buffering load, so that batteries could be charged at night when power is relatively inexpensive, when there aren't businesses using power, and discharged on the premises during the day to
Right.
you know, something like that, and then weaving in site generation as part of that.
Yep.
And I guess I'm wondering if that is really where net metering ought to be developed. That would be net metering really, but whatever we call that, site site specific generation storage.
Yeah, I think that is where it's going. I was listening to Weck's testimony before, and I agree with that gentleman. That's it. That's exactly where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Towards more storage, less excess generation being put back onto the grid.
Yeah.
More efficient that way using batteries.
Yeah.
Probably more valuable too. So,
Yeah.
so then you have to change the cost structure probably, and
Right.
and the incentive structure.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yep.
Yeah. I wonder how to go about doing something like that. Convening all the people somehow.
A technical conference.
Okay.
That's, I think, what it called. But no, really, it would call for some sort of statewide workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something the department would be heavily involved in. Couldn't it? Not to say it can't be done. It definitely can be done.
You're not doing anything else.
Right. We're not doing it. We're just hanging out.
Okay.
Other questions for Greg on net metering?
Well,
Yeah, sure.
so the complaint that people are having, they're paying 4 cents for everything that goes through the production meter. And if they just had what was being exported at a time of day at a -8, or maybe even -12, the spin seems to be that they're paying, they call it a tax, they're paying a fee on what the tomato they're growing themselves. And that, I think, is what the dig is. I mean, this has gone from back in 2000, I don't remember what year it was, 2009, when it was 5 cents a kilowatt adder.
Yeah, it changes all.
Yeah, but it's gone from 5 cents to -4 now, and if you keep the Rex, you got another -3. That people don't like the size of the lollipops they're getting in.
They don't. They would like a larger lollipop, but
Well, yeah, everybody,
wouldn't you?
well, no, put them out there. Nobody takes a small cookie first.
Right.
It's the last one taken. And so that's what I think. I envision the attempt of this is to, what I get from those people that have approached me on this is that this negative 4 cents on everything. And it started, I guess it came in effect in 25 or 24.
I don't know when that,
Right.
that exact adjuster was.
Well, I wasn't there at 24, so at 25 and all of 25 after elected, I got approached.
Okay. Rounding the corner. 7:53, disconnections.
Yes. Okay. I do have sort of a connection between net metering price increases and, electric rate increases in general, with disconnections. I mean, obviously, the more the rates go up because of any factors, including net metering price increases, you're going to force more people into disconnection. So these two things are kind of at odds for me. But I just wanted to put that out. That's sort of an overall connection between these two bills. So 753, if you look at section 2A, and that's on page 2.
Okay.
So, section 2 says PUC shall amend or disconnection rule 3.3. And the change here, the big change for us is it allows other licensed healthcare providers to provide physician certificates, basically a doctor's note that says don't disconnect this person for medical reasons. It doesn't define what other licensed healthcare providers are. We don't know what those are. We don't know what kind of licenses are out there or who can get them. This can include a lot of folks. We're not sure what you mean by this. So that's one question.
We actually have our bill sponsor. She just arrived. So, Rep. Torrey, I'm not sure if you could hear Greg asking about who the other medical practitioners are. Is that something you talked about or thought about?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be like a nurse practitioner, physician assistant. So definitely a primary care professional. And the language does sound a little broad. That's a good flag. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a little broad, yeah, to say the least. I mean, it could be your PT therapist, right? I mean,
right. Yeah, and that wasn't
everybody has a license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely not the intent. I think we were imagining PAs and nurse practitioners, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is my concern. I mean, generally, if someone had a complex medical condition, they would have a lot of doctors. They might have an oncologist. They might have a lot of people. But generally, the primary care physician and office is where things funnel.
Yeah.
My concern is that we have a shortage of primary care in our state. So one of the reasons for this, thinking about the extension or having a condition that is known to be chronic or longer than the window in the current rule, is that issue of, difficulty maybe accessing and getting these notes just because of the bottleneck in primary care. So I don't know whether I don't really know whether it would need to be even beyond the primary care office if there would be a note from a different medical specialist. I don't know enough about current practice to to say, but I think I appreciate that input. And
Right now, we're getting it from primary care.
Yeah.
So this changes things.
Okay.
We're not sure why, but you should.
and we may not want to change it from primary care. I think most things funnel right through primary care, but I do want to flag my concerns about the bottleneck that we do see and access problems that we have. So
Thanks, Rep. Torrey. Yeah. Rep.
But
Hoffman.
the PA works under the primary care. So physician's assistant, by issuing that authority or this note is really issuing it under the doctor, which that physician's assistant works.
Right, but the doctor could do it too.
Well, I've never seen my doctor.
I know it's hard,
I
but
mean, no, but
again,
I,
we're getting a fax from these folks.
right.
So it's not you
But
can lift
it's from the organization that,
Well, the PA gets the doctors.
right, it works under a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'd rather have some sort of definition here, some sort of limits. So anyway, let's see. So the second part of this 2A says that the doctor's note shall remain in effect indefinitely unless the commission rules otherwise. Okay, so that means a doctor's note could potentially be in effect for years. Unless we rule otherwise. On what basis is the PUC overruling a doctor? We have no medical expertise. We can't. When would this even come up? I mean, how do we say, no, this person doesn't need that medical note anymore? We can't make that decision.
right, I think that I believe this would get refined in your rules. In the rule,
I would love to refine it, but this is what it says.
yeah, the language needs to be edited. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
um.
Rep. Torrey, can you just can you explain the thinking behind this? I remember thinking that we were trying to provide help for people with chronic conditions, right?
Yeah, and so that's why. But even in that case, there could be a change in vulnerability, I assume. So I hear you on this. This was actually, I think, the intention really was to have you guys do some thinking about that and help with the goal of not having an onerous burden on someone who's quite ill to keep getting updated notes. So helping us think through that and what that could look like could be in the rule, I imagine, a little more parameters around it. But the idea really was just to get, uncouple from the 30 days.
Again, it says what it says. We can't really. It's not a goal. That's a statutory requirement.
Yeah, I think what would be
Mm-hmm.
helpful would be
New language.
yeah. Well, I'm trying to get Rep. Torrey to explain because there's good intent here. So in thoughts from you guys on, yep, hear what you're trying to accomplish here. What about this or that? So do
you should phrase it that way then. Phrase it like the commission shall look at this issue. You've done that in many other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's helpful. Rep. Bailey?
So wouldn't the customer of the utility who's in this scenario with the 30 days?
Yep.
And it's coming up wouldn't their customer service reps be calling that customer to say, we need another 30-day extension?
The customer service rep of the utility?
Yeah, because when after the 30 days, then you're going into disconnect.
Right.
So when this is processes it going in like in week 3, does the utility call that customer and say you've got to get either an updated one or?
I'm sure that customer already has a disconnect notice, but you'd have to talk to each individual utility to see how they work it. They're probably all a little different.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are calling or even going to the premises and saying, hey, you know, what's going on? In a small utility, they probably know these folks.
Yeah.
You know, so it's probably a little different with GMP, maybe between
Right.
GMP and SWAMP and things like that.
Right.
So listening to GMP's testimony about how their disconnect process works, it sounded like the process could be pretty quick for somebody who is otherwise struggling and juggling a lot of different demands on their money that's running out. As I understand it, bill was past due, 5 days after a bill goes out. Or a bill is received, a due date. And I'm trying to get the right terminology here. 5 days after the bill's due date, it's past due. That's the right term. And then 15 days after that, right? No, 5 days after the bill's due, a disconnect notice can go out. That's the right. And then 15 days after that, it can be the disconnect can be done. It's 8 days after. I should look back at my notes, but anyway, it's a pretty short time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 8 days after the bill's due. If you get a disconnect notice, and then 15 days after that. So 23 days sticks in my mind as the period after the bill due date when a person could be disconnected. And that seems pretty quick for somebody who is, you know, sort of in an extreme situation, perhaps.
Well, the rule, I'm looking at the rule now. It requires a certain amount of days for notice. So
and notices, and
I'm assuming they're adhering to the rules when they do that.
I assume so as well.
But it doesn't sound like it, because this is 40 days and 20 days. So I don't know. But that is in the rules. They have to provide a certain
3.300 something, 3.100.
It's 3.300.
3.300.
And
yeah,
on our website.
I have it down.
We have it.
Yeah.
But we do cover that in the rules. So
yeah. I haven't looked at the rule closely. I was taking their testimony as in adherence to the rule.
It doesn't sound exactly right, but I don't know. I didn't listen to this.
Maybe I should check that. I guess what I was leading up to is, should there be a lengthier period, more than 30 days?
Well, I would encourage you to look at the existing notice and see if you think it's adequate.
Okay.
Obviously, we've worked through this rule. We just did it in 2024. And stakeholders are involved in this process. So everyone sort of agreed on this time limit. So, but if you don't think it's adequate, that's something you could ask us to look at.
Yeah.
In a future rulemaking.
Looking at it now.
Okay.
Thanks.
What else? What else is in here? And it's section 2B. That is the extreme heat exception.
Yeah.
We're fine with that. Utilities apparently do this anyway during periods of extreme heat. They'll hold off on disconnecting folks, but it is something we could do as a companion to the extreme cold provisions in the rule. So it's something we could certainly do. And section. Oh, section 3. Yeah, section 3. I'm a little puzzled by. I'm not sure what this would be. A plan to establish a strategic plan for achieving lowest prudently feasible number of disconnects. Obviously, utilities don't want to disconnect people. It involves a lot of work, and then they lose that money. They'd rather enter into a payment plan with somebody if they could. So we don't think that that's necessary. We don't agree with this part. I would also point out that maybe there's some confusion about what water utilities we regulate. The ones we regulate are routinely 5 customers. Somebody has a spring and a pump, and they're attached to a couple other houses next to them, right? We don't regulate municipal water systems like Montpelier.
Right.
Those are the people who get disconnected. I think that's what you're aiming at here, but we don't regulate those folks. So when you put water in here and then require that water companies include their plan in a service quality and reliability plan, guess what? They don't have those.
Excuse me.
They're small. They're tight. They're very small companies and they don't have service quality plans. So this whole section, we don't support that.
Okay.
We think it's being done already. And again, the water company, I think that's resulting from confusion. But again, Gesundheit.
I'm sorry. Rep. Torrey?
Yeah, the water came to our attention with Carol Flint's testimony. But just, I could add a little clarity for our intention in section 3. It's really the idea that there could be some goals, because I know that the utilities do submit monthly disconnection data to the PUC. So it seems like, and I know the department has spent time and resources having best practices around disconnections studied with recommendations made. So it seems like an opportunity to use the service quality reliability plans or possibly the IRP, which was what one of our co-ops or munis recommended. But for the larger utilities, the SQRP seemed like it could be a place to have some intention set around goals for disconnections. In terms of trends, do we have annual trend data in terms of enrollment? Because that could paint a picture for maybe improving some outreach processes, education, things that can make a difference in terms of being more proactive for more Vermonters. So really welcome your thoughts on that.
My first thought is, why have us adopt a rule to then require the utilities to do that when you could just require the utilities to do that? I mean, why are you asking us to adopt a rule to have them to do it? Why not just say, utilities shall file this information or come up with this plan? That would be a little more straightforward. Why have us do a separate rulemaking on top of our disconnection rule? Again, we have nothing to do. I realize that, but doing 2 rulemakings at the same time for something that's completely unnecessary, that's a little much. So just, if you want them to come up with a plan, I would suggest working with them on the language, because I do believe IRPs are probably better placed than the SQRPs, but I would just skip the rulemaking, just make them do it. If you want them to file a plan, just say it. You have that authority. So, but I would talk to them first.
Yeah, we've got some language coming along those lines.
Okay. Yeah.
But I guess I'm not really sure why the rulemaking came up in that. I think because originally the idea was kind of a performance metric. And so maybe because there's only one utility right now or one state that's using a performance metric with disconnections, Illinois, that we thought maybe it might need to be more of a discussion and rulemaking kind of, but
Sorry. But anyway, that's all I got on these bills.
Okay.
okay.
Any further questions for Greg on any of these 3 bills?
How many small water companies are there in the state?
I don't know off the top of my head, not many. Most of them have joined together in fire districts.
Well, okay, so.
So very few are left.
So if something's in a fire district, you don't regulate the meter.
Right. It's just the mom and pop operations. And there's a few of them. How many off the top of my head, but
No, but we, in my town, they're fire districts.
yeah,
And they're just,
they've all converted to fire
and they
mostly.
have a municipal type of structure.
Yeah.
There's the fire district has similar municipal powers.
Exactly. Used to be a lot more of them. Not so much.
I just had one more question for Mr. Faber. So, when you're revising rules, it's a formal rulemaking process. It takes because we learned from you that we don't have any rules for 248A because it's such an extensive, long process. To make this, how is that? Yeah.
We do have, we call them standards and procedures, and they act like a rule, but they're done through a contested case proceeding rather than a rulemaking proceeding. A rulemaking proceeding is much more, it's much more lengthy. It's much more rigorous. You do have to come through LCAR, obviously. An amendment to a rule is pretty much the same as doing a new rule. It's not any easier really. And it takes a very long time. There's prescribed statutory timelines that you have to hit. So it takes over a year to do.
Okay. So this would take over a year, and you just did the rules in 2024.
2024. That's right. That's right. So this would be, and like I said, we don't oppose amending the rule to put in the heat stuff, the heat index. We would like some clarity about the
others.
The physician certificate, obviously. But it will, yeah, it's more work, but.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm looking at the rule 3.300.
Yeah.
And I scanned through it, the 11-page rule. And what I can find here is in the definitions sections, 3.301.
E, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Written notice. So notice is defined as written notice of disconnection that is delivered to the customer on form approved by the commission, except for other provided, or by electronic notice, mailed or electronic. Anyway, transmitted to the customer 40 days after delinquency, but not within 40 days after delinquency,
Within 40 days.
but not more than 20 days.
Right.
So,
So between
nor
20
less
and
than 40
40.
days before the first date on which disconnection of service could occur. So within 40 days after delinquency, but not more than 20 days, I guess hinges on what is the definition of the date of delinquency.
Yeah. Yep.
Is the due date of the bill the day zero of delinquency, or
That is a good question. I don't know.
or is the date that the bill was issued the start date?
I don't know the answer to that one.
Yeah.
They stated, GMP stated, bill date is 27 days after reading.
Yeah.
It doesn't go delinquent for 5 days after that. So it doesn't become delinquent till 5 days of the due date, because there's a 30-day requirement in the rule for the posting of the due date. So that's the way GMP got around that.
So I thought there was a 5-day thing there too, but then thinking about it, I have to go back to my notes. I think 8 days after the bill date, they can issue a notice of so that's 35 days after the bill is issued. Anyway, I guess what I'm concerned about is whether we're not giving specific enough direction to utilities about the notice period.
Yeah.
Because I did go over the day counts with Candace Morgan from GMP a couple of times, and actually also out in the hallway. So I'm pretty sure that it's only 23 days after the bill is due, a disconnection could occur.
Okay.
And that would be 60 days after the bill is issued.
Right.
So is that too quick for somebody who might find themselves in a sort of an emergency situation and not be thinking about paying their utility bill?
Well, it's something we can look at during the rulemaking.
Yeah. But you've just completed a rulemaking and you aren't going to do this again. And
Oh, we have to, because if we're going to do if this bill passes, even with just the extreme
Right.
heat thing,
You have to open up
we
the
have to
rule.
do a new rulemaking.
okay,
So
so we do if the only thing we do is there's GMP, then
I got to open up the whole thing. It doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Okay.
So people can come in and make the arguments, and it's a formal proceeding. And yes,
Okay, so the bill could include.
it could include
Direct-
changes to this
direction.
section. Yeah, more. I guess delinquency. What does that mean? But
Yeah. Right.
and maybe I don't deal with disconnections much, but maybe people back at the shop know exactly what that means, what date that is. And I'm sure GMP is behaving by the book, but
I assume so.
I
Look
assume they
at that rule very closely. So, okay. That's my question. Thank you.
Rick Southworth?
I just had the timeline of Scott on it.
Sorry, yeah.
I had the timeline on their billing all the days.
Yeah.
If you wanted that, or if you also.
We can talk about it later. I think this seems like something we might want to look at more closely. Okay. Yes, we may. Thanks.
Okay. Everybody got with PUC? All right, Greg, thank you so much for being here.
Have a good
Appreciate
weekend, folks. Yeah, thank you.
Let's roll on. Rep Donahue. I'm not sure we need to wait for Maria, if you're comfortable. The amendment's posted, right? Yeah. So folks, we're gonna go ahead and chat with Rep Donahue about her suggested amendment to H 898. And it is posted in the bill folder. And we're going to take a straw poll. And depending on the outcome of that, we will okay, so Friday. I'm just making sure it's there. Yeah. So it's in the bill folder. Draft number 1.1, dated February 13th at 11:29 a.m. And it is Representative Donahue's suggested amendment. So for the record, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Representative Van Donahue. I had read through the bill, listened to the presentation. I was really impressed and happy to see how protective it was for consumers. I loved the term I never heard, plain old. I was like, okay. And I thought it was great. I always, whenever it comes to anything electronic, I think what would my parents do? How would they cope with this? So it was great that, that the notice, focusing on the notice piece, is email, but also goes out by mail, get it in mail. And the only one that was a little bit of a concern was number 6, because that requires inclusion of a link to the consumer protection rules. And for people who are like, I'm not looking at my, oh, good, I can be through this, thank goodness, I can hold it in my hand. Access to a link is going to be an obstacle for them. And just to know, oh, here's where I can make contact if I really feel I want to see a hard copy of that. And so this amendment would add to the end of number 6, which talks about the link, and it adds or a method for obtaining a hard copy of Rule 7.600 by U.S. mail. So the notice would need to explain how somebody could get a hard copy. And that's it.
Great. Thoughts?
I'm wondering if we should say, instead of a method for obtaining, or instead of saying for a method, say instructions for obtaining. Something like that, to just to tell people, well, this is how you do it. And that's, does that get at what you're
That's the intent.
Yeah.
That would make it clearer that what it meant by a method.
Yeah.
How to obtain it.
how to obtain.
How to obtain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that traditional, and I just appreciate the amendment. I think it is by and large a lot of older Vermonters that may be encountering this, and so the different technologies, I think, is.
Yeah, I do wish Maria were here, because I'm curious to know if that change is
Amending the amendment.
clearer or more substantive enough to merit the change. We can, if everybody's prepared to hang around, we'll wait for Maria to come. We'll ask her if she thinks that language change is worth the time. She'll revise it.
This has not been
committee.
turned in to
Yeah.
the clerk's office yet, so it would just be.
Great. That's good news. Okay.
Well, having worked with customers and back when you had to pay toll calls, 30 years ago before, it was always who's going to pay for the call. And so who's going to pay for the postage? When you obtain by mail, is this going to be an obligation of the people making the conversion to mail the copy out? Maybe it's not a concern.
Yeah, I would not anticipate there being a huge number. There's always those few, like my dad, who wouldn't sign into a hospital without reading every word of that multi-page consent.
That's where you get.
Yeah. So I don't think the volume would be much, if it turned out to be a concern, I'm sure we'd hear back.
But I always ask when I go in, what am I signing? And, there's 2 paragraphs there when you go in to sign for a blood test. And what am I signing?
You read them too.
I don't read them. I ask them, what am I signing?
Oh, okay.
And they say, if you have, if it's been less than a year, you pay. If it's more than a year, they pay. Or whatever.
Anyway, I should add that I appreciate the amendment also.
Yeah.
Because it's a good idea.
All right. So, Anne, do you have thoughts on what you think the final language will be that you turn into the clerk?
Yeah, it says the language, instead of or a method for obtaining, it would be how to obtain.
Okay.
Take off the ing.
Ready to feel good about that?
Yeah. Or how to obtain. Yeah.
Okay.
Does it by US mail stay in there?
Mm-hmm. Because that's the issue. How do they get it in hand? How do they get it by mail?
So for straw poll?
Yeah,
Straw poll.
exactly.
So, all right, Rep. Torrey, you still there for our straw poll?
Yes, I am.
All righty. All right, so let's go around the table, huh?
Yes.
All right, so yes.
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 Yes. All
Right.
Okay.
So Rep Donahue, thanks for bringing
Thank you
that
very much.
improvement to the bill.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Good.
And go ahead and get it turned in and we'll.
Yep,
on the
I'll
floor.
pop it to Maria. I had already checked and
So,
the clerk's office had said as long as they get it before 4,
Perfect.
get some calendars, so we'll
so
be good.
who's
Thanks,
gonna get up and speak then? Okay, you're gonna get up and speak then.
Rep Donahue will, and then as the
then
floor reporter, Rep
we'll-
Sibilia will
we'll
report our
say
committee
the
conversation.
committee, okay.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody,
Bye.
we are done for the day and we will be back next week.